This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Hey everyone, Tyler here to let you know that Southgate Media Group has a Patreon. That's right. Starting at just $5, you get extra content for all your favorite podcasts on the network. You can listen to Patreon-exclusive shows like This Week in Geek, hear interviews with the podcasters of the network. So just go to www.patreon.com/Southgate Media Group. We are constantly releasing exciting and new things.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Welcome to the Krypton Report, episode 242. That's right. I've decided I'm going to start saying the number when we start. You know why? Because I'm an ever-changing person who just wants to better his podcast. So with that ado, I would like to say that we are retiring James Cole as our second on the podcast. James, goodbye.
Oh, well, all right. I guess. Damn.
No, we couldn't do that to James. He's the best part of the show. Everybody knows that. Everybody, even though we're an audio show, everyone just knows that James is sitting there flexing his muscles and recording. Solomon and I we were watching, he wanted to watch Thor Ragnarok, and we were watching it, and there's that part at the beginning where Thor purposely catches the hammer in a flex. He's like, oh, I was like, oh, that's probably like, James was on the side, like, do it like this, man. Like this is how you do it.
Right. Showing him how to do it.
He was like, oh, yes, it's good. But anyways, let's get into this fun ditty. We don't have a whole lot of news, just kind of some here and there, all around kind of stuff. But McFarlane Toys, always awesome, put out a nice little new thing for Batman 66 toys. And it was just, all I saw was Batman, Robin, and the Joker. Is that all?
A Batmobile. I think they're producing the Batmobile too, but I'm not sure. Because he has produced vehicles. He did for the death metal line Batman.
See, I would get the Batmobile and maybe Robin. I would love to have the Riddler, honestly, of that line if they did one. I think the Riddler would be awesome to have, because there's just a boyish charm about Batman 66, because we grew up having that already in the background, along with having the new stuff of the Keaton films, the animated series, and beyond. Not Batman Beyond, but we did have that too.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to recall which one I saw first, Batman 89 or Adam West. I'd have to say it was Adam West on TV.
See,
I saw Keaton.
I'm kind of in the same boat. They kind of both existed. Kind of like, it's very hard to remember if I saw Chris as Superman first or the Fleischer Superman first, because it all just kind of exists in this consciousness of being there. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember Adam West being on FX, but also having my my Batman Michael Keaton outfit, my Warner Brothers ball cap. I'm not really sure what came first, when, where, or how.
The Southgate Group podcast. Well, I know I do. And support the show. Well, the group can help support the show without having to give any more. Just go to southgategroup.com. There's a link at the top to log in. Just log into your account, shop like normal, and part of it you buy goes back to help Southgate. It's simple, it's easy, and you're just buying stuff on Amazon.
So I was shopping the other day, and I found the new Hershey has re-released their, they have some extra characters now for their chocolate, one being Supergirl. And I had to buy, some. But what sucks is I buy them to eat with my kids and have, but Sayla can't have them. So we just collect them because Hershey doesn't make, non-dairy chocolate. So screw you, Hershey's.
Right. That's pretty.
It is, man. Also, I guess I'm going to have to play Fortnite now.
Yeah, me too.
That was my thought. Like, dang it, video game Fortnite. Like, they have this new Superman skin. It's like the new 52 with trunks and a different belt, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, and they got the black suit.
And I was just like, dang you, Fortnite.
Right. Make me play just to get the Superman skin.
I'll probably never figure it out, so I'll just spend all this time trying to get it and then just be like, why can't I have the Superman?
Probably got to buy it.
Probably. That's easier. I'll just do that.
Right.
Let's see. We also, James Wan tweeted out, or someone tweeted out for James Wan, that Aquaman is going to be Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Okay.
Kind of like a pre-production meeting. I just had the name, like a title card kind of.
So that's cool. We also got our first look at Batwing, and his suit looks pretty sweet. I mean, it's armored. The blue bat looks like the Batwing bat. Would like to actually have his wings in it. Batwing to me usually has more silver and gray in it, because this suit almost looks kind of very, almost like a live action Batman Beyond suit, just not red.
Well, from what I've seen of it, it's like the iterations I've seen, it's like a Batman Tron suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I thought the suit was pretty black bat, full face mask that I am with him wearing, and yeah, I was hoping that they would do that with his character.
Why not? We need
in Batwoman. We're gonna bring Luke Fox in these days. I mean,
right?
It should be somewhere down the line.
Well, we need somebody to like be her partner and fight with her and her secondary hero. I mean, everybody has another hero they're partnered with. So come on. Let's see. We got our little clip trailer for the Super Pets film, the League of Super Pets, where we knew that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was going to be Crypto, but then we got some other voice cast members. And who is Ace the Bat Hound, you ask? But none other.
And The Rock's little buddy, Kevin Hart.
What? All right. And then we have Kate McKinnon, John Krasinski, Diego Luna, and Keanu Reeves. And
yeah, the Keanu Reeves one stunned me.
I'm like, sweet. I don't know what all Super Pets they're going to include, so I can't speculate other than I have a feeling that Kate McKinnon might be Streaky the cat. For some reason, that just feels like her energy.
Yeah.
But we don't know anything other than that. And you know what? Dang it, I'm excited for this thing because the kids thought it was so cool seeing the little Crypto and knowing The Rock's going to do it. And I don't know, it's nice to be excited for the kids to enjoy something DC on the big screen, you know?
Yeah. I'm definitely taking my kids to see that.
And then the last thing is the news, like you said to me the other day, that we both kind of laughed about, was the fact that we were talking about the Shazam clip and how maybe they were making fun of the Black Adam reveal because the Black Adam tease was just him in a cloak in the dark, and like you could maybe see a little bit of like the top of his lightning bolt out his shirt, and like you could see like the boots a little bit, like, and it was just, and I was like, oh, maybe that was making fun of the fact that they just shot the Black Adam in pure darkness and nobody could see him like anything. Like,
yeah, that's it was kind of, I could see it as making fun of itself, you know, from the light up suit the first, but then I can definitely see it calling out Black Adam for the suit picture just being a silhouette.
I mean, it also makes sense why, I feel like the Shazam trilogy of movies, because we know we're going to get at least 3. Okay, I'm calling it right now. May operate, and I bet the third one will be a quick turnaround too. May operate more in the vein of like the Dark Knight trilogy. And I say that in the sense where the second movie will be really good, but it won't be as played out much into the arc of the entire story. Because then the third movie will be, the introduction of Black Adam,
right?
Which ties it right back to the first film, much like how the Dark Knight worked, where the villain was just an extension of the villain of the plot of the first film. So,
right.
The other thing I got thinking we didn't talk about: do you think they're going to change everybody's costume to look like the new Shazam? So it'll be the new green, new blue.
I think they are.
It would make sense.
I think they are, and I think somebody said something about that being.
I mean, it makes sense. And so, but that's all the news we got today. So stick around and we're going to segue in and we're going to just kind of go into Superman and Lois. So hold on.
Hey, it's Tyler, Man Podcast. Check out some of our other favorite podcasts. We have the Inspiring Kryptonian, The Last Sons of Krypton, a new one I discovered called Decryptonite, great podcast, as well as good friends Bug Podcast, and of course, Master Phil Perry, Lunatics, who is this podcast. So just check those out.
And we're back. James, do you know what today is when this drops? Do you know?
It's gonna be Superman.
Happy Superman Day to you, James.
Happy Super.
I am so crazy. Like, look at this. Okay, I literally have my family's clothes set out for tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
I have an outfit for Jania for after work and pajamas. I have Selah's pajamas and her outfit. I have Solomon's outfit. And then I realized that Solomon no longer has super pajamas, so we'll make something work. I have my outfit. And yeah, we're all going to be dressed and ready to go for Superman Day.
Well, that sounds really good.
Yeah, just because, I'm like that. And
Yeah.
it is a very celebrated and recognized holiday in this house. So yeah.
Sad I have to work through it.
Well, I mean,
Got a side job in. I got yard work to do tomorrow.
I got packing to do always and cleaning, so I'm not going to get off scot-free. I rearranged someone was, side tangent, we're giving away a free piano here and someone was supposed to come pick it up. So I rearranged all the boxes to give them a clear shot of getting it out of the house. They didn't show up. So,
Aw.
Shame.
That's...
Shame. So let's jump into Superman and Lois. Episode 9, Loyal Subjects?
Yeah, with a K.
I mean, is this a little cross promotion supposed to be for Mortal Kombat, or is it just because it's supposed to be K as in kryptonite? Or
that's my.
Or can someone
thought.
not spell and got away with it? Educational system and spell checker. But nah, this may be, I don't want to say the best episode, but the most interconnected, dense episode we've had in a while. Because when I was taking my notes, I am ridiculous that I color code my notes based on the characters and stuff to help give me, so we can kind of talk through the characters faster. But there is so much of just everything connecting that I don't think we could really choose a character and go through without really touching on the other character. But we're going to try something, okay?
All right.
Now, I'm going to give a shout out to my lovely, beautiful wife, Jania, because when this episode opened, we have an opening shot behind Leslie as she's walking someone to Morgan's office, and Jania just looks at me and goes, spoilers. She goes, it's Kyle. She just straight up looks at me and goes, it's Kyle.
Right.
And I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. And I agree with her, but I was just like, yeah, that's fine. And then we have this very interesting dynamic of Lois and Christy talking. And what I find interesting is Lois is like, why Smallville? Why here? And I'm kind of thinking you're asking these questions to Christy, who doesn't know all the pieces. Because Lois, that this is where Superman landed. That Superman currently lives here. I would be thinking more does Morgan Edge know about Superman's origin? Would be what I'd be asking. So she's throwing all this stuff out at Christy, and I'm just like, all right, calm it down just a little bit, Lois. Calm it down.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's nice, though, they talk about kryptonite, talk about the showers around the world, how it distributed kryptonite all over remnants of Krypton.
Yep.
Pretty awesome.
And he said, Clark says, every form of kryptonite. Meteor showers from all around the world with every form of kryptonite for weeks. And I'm like, okay. And we're going to get more into that because you brought up after this episode, you brought up a great question to me. And I forgot to read the summary of this episode, but basically here's the quick summary of this episode as presented to me by the great powers that be. Ready? Lois, Chrissy, and Clark team up to piece together the significance of Smallville to Morgan Edge. Jordan is infected with the same bioweapon Superman was, leading to hard feelings between Lois and Sam. Sarah is forced to perform alone because Jordan is homesick, and Morgan launches an attack on Lois and Jonathan and reveals who he really is to Superman. At least they didn't say he reveals himself, because that'd be a little...
Right.
But we get to see Clark, a line that Lois gives about Clark's a good reporter, and now that he's not coaching, and we get this montage of them setting up their board at home, Lana getting them copies of files, and I'm just like, man, the whole Clark coaching in football, like we talked about last week, done. Just boop. They played Metropolis, which should have been the state championship game, what it should have been, and then now they're just done. But we see Morgan Edge with Emily, and I was like, is this a flashback scene? Because, it seems very much kind of like he's presenting her with the option to basically make her best self. And we see her in the tube machine, perfect host match. And my thought was, if there's a mental acceptance that has to be met for the host or thing to work, and I don't know, like maybe
Well,
it's a component.
they get
we
into
learned, yeah.
Yeah, they get into that.
So
Because
they get into it. Yeah,
that was my thing was guessing why, because they brought up who went through it but died.
And I mean, we can kind of skip. We can just mention it. I mean, it's not a huge thing, but basically, the big reveal part is with like the meteor shower that kryptonite only fell in Smallville, and basically the radiation has been around since then. That people from Smallville are accepting of the kryptonite. That's why the other people who have been forced to try to be Kryptonians failed. Now, my question is, when they failed, the consciousness, as Lois later puts it, is it lost? Is that person just completely gone? Or can they redistribute that consciousness? Yeah. Now, I guess we can kind of skip
that
ahead.
I don't know.
We can kind of wrap this part, this little arc up here, because we find out that Leslie Lars, his real name is Irma something. I have it in my back notes here. Hold on. Irma Sayers. And the bathroom guy who attacked Clark in like episode 2 was from Smallville. Does no one not recognize her? Like they show her the picture they used definitely was of the actress they used for the Fate yearbook, but she doesn't look that much older or younger that they wouldn't recognize her, considering that they've established how small of a town Smallville is. Because we have a scene of Clark seeing Emily at the diner and stuff. She's like, "Clark, I heard you're back in town." Blah, blah, blah. And then Clark, asks her some questions, and she tries to pitch him a job to work for Morgan Edge, go talk to Lana. But anyways, no one remembers her. Like that's my thought. Like,
yeah, I mean, I wonder how long she could have lived there. She
would have had to live there long.
How long they would need
enough.
to have been. Yeah, that's the thing. How long was long enough to expose, and then how long has she been gone?
So my question also is here: why does Morgan Edge want all these candidates? Is it just look better, like on paper or something? Why he's hanging out with these people and they're like doing this special like retreats and breakfast meetings and stuff? Because based on just needing people from Smallville, he could just take anybody.
Well, that's the thing. He can't take anybody. He's tried in his other places and shut down his operation.
But I'm just saying, like he could take
a little bit of extra.
He wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Why is he choosing these like recruits, like the best of his company? Like, is it he could just be like taking the?
I mean, I more or less think it's like, yeah. I mean, he could be taking anybody really, but I mean, and what we'll find out later. I mean, abduction wouldn't be hard, but and the fact that they're creating Kryptonians wouldn't be hard, but to keep it hidden. Kind of, making it look legit, like business, bringing people up to do it, not just abducting people and lining them up and forcing them to do it. So, like you said, maybe a mental acceptance to go through the procedure,
maybe,
possibly, but I don't know.
So we do have this part of which I thought was awesome, where Clark, being the super dad that he is, sitting there packing the boys' lunches. And he's just sitting there like putting stuff in their lunch bags. I thought that was cool. Just a small thing. And
just an everyday thing.
Lois basically tells Clark that she tried to warn people, but they didn't listen to her. But Clark, you're from around here. You're Martha Kent's son, and your mother was helping people in Smallville way before Morgan Edge. I think it's a good point. We do have Sarah is still going to be in the talent show thingy. And I like that, Jordan, they have this whole family kind of conversation about, oh, you guys are hanging out a lot for just friends. And Jordan's like, I want to be there for her. And then Lois is like, well, I'll leave it up to her to tell you if it's more than friends. And I'm like,
right.
Okay. I'm like, I could dissect this line for a while, but you know what? I don't have any power to do it. Because I just think about, you don't want to be like, hey, I want to be more than friends. Her input, because she's the one that says, let's just be friends. But at the same time, you could be friends forever because she's waiting on you, but you're waiting on her. And that's how nothing gets accomplished. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Lois tries to convince Lana to take a break from helping them so that Morgan Edge doesn't. And we get our first little scene here of happy-go-lucky Kyle when he takes Sarah to school and thanks the boys for looking out for her and helping out Jordan, as he is all excited and says to her. And Sarah, once again says to John to look out for Tegan. I hate that name. I don't know why. It's just one of those names. I'm just like, eh.
I mean, I don't know. Never had any. I can't say. I guess maybe I've heard Tegan before. Maybe once before. The only other Tegan I know besides that was Tegan Crawford's Raven.
Right. And she pulls it off well. But, this is one of those names I'm like, okay. But here's one of my, if not favorite scene of the episode. We have Clark at the diner with Emily, and he hears something. A bank robbery. Spain or Mexico? I wasn't sure. Because the way
not really sure.
Flying. But he comes in, and I've seen a lot of people online compare this scene and the way that he comes in very much to Zack Snyder's Justice League of Wonder Woman coming into the hostage situation at the beginning.
Right.
And I mean, this scene was awesome. The way he busts in, and it's just we learned something here though when one of the bank robbers starts using a shotgun. And he starts reacting to it. He falls down, and then dude grabs a machine gun and just is shooting Superman as he's laying there. And then I love this part where Superman just kind of like stands up, and then just
and then he floats there.
Yeah.
Up.
And the guy is like, oh, and he just pushes the dude. But you know what I like most about this scene?
What's that?
One of the things that I pointed out to Jania about his power that people that does not get used is Superman in the comics and stories has proven he can speak every language, from his hearing to his muscle memory, his intelligence. He has learned to speak the different languages of Earth, and he speaks Spanish and speaks with the security guard. And I just loved it because it just makes Superman feel more of the protector of Earth.
Yeah,
he is of the people,
a man of which is why this Superman fight. Superman raised by the Kents human. He would never, much like Henry Cavill and the end of Man of Steel, chooses humanity.
Yes.
Because no matter his birthplace, he is human. He's raised here. No matter what he can do, still, that's what he is.
And that's something that's very true to him compared to his cousin, where you have a little bit more of that playability of where she. Now we have Clark return home. We get a weird scene of like Lois trying to go into Morgan Edge's office and tell people that they don't want any of this. As she put it, she was going to make a scene. And she basically spills the bean that she knows what Morgan Edge is up to, putting Kryptonian consciousness. And he says, maybe you should call in your super friend. And he says, how would he feel if he knew that there were more of his kind here? Hold that thought. And then we have John at his locker, and he sees Tegan, and he tries to ask her out and get shot down because she just felt sorry for John because of his arm and his cast. And then here's the part I hate most about this episode. Do you know what that is?
No.
The stupid football coach pops up and goes, oh, QB number 2. Got to learn how to lock that down.
Oh, yeah. You gotta learn how to close.
Yeah. And I'm like, what a D-bag. First of all, he's taking a break from football. You don't ever play him. You treat him like crap, even though he's there and was your most valuable asset in your Metropolis game. But, yeah, douche.
Yeah, and he gets kind of shot down by the, I don't know, maybe the quote-unquote popular girl.
That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. That's what she is. Now,
it's kind of like your head mean girl.
Got her little posse. Now, Clark's icing himself. He's full of bruises. And Lois comes in like, holy cow, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I love this because of his just like, I don't know. Like, I was just getting shot. And she's like, with kryptonite? He's like, no, regular guns. She's like, regular bullets did this? And I said to myself, and I looked at Jenny, I was like, why doesn't he just fly into the sun? Like, up into the atmosphere to the sun and do the pose like every other Superman does when they have to heal themselves. Like, Henry Cavill, Brandon Routh, get that sunshine and then, you know.
Well, like, for him experiencing that weakness and getting the bruises and everything, and then going down and coming back up, he's probably okay because he's full-blooded Kryptonian and it was a synthetic kryptonite. But what it does to Jordan in this episode, it's much more severe. Yeah, much more severe reaction.
I just know that if I was Superman and all of a sudden I was bruising because of synthetic kryptonite, to the fortress I would go. Just saying.
Right.
Because we don't know.
Well, I mean, who knows how he felt? Maybe he felt ill at that time, and then it passed. Because
we have the thing. Because we didn't say when he arrived in Spain or Mexico. There's a quick moment where he feels kind of winded, and we learned it was an experimental synthetic, so they don't know what the effects are going to be on him.
Yeah.
Or how long it's supposed to last. So they call Sam now, like you said. Speaking of Jordan, he's playing the piano, trying to be smooth with Sarah, little ladies, and he sneezes. Now, when he first sneezed, my first thought was, oh, this is how they're doing that. Cool. So when he sneezes ice breath into his hands, and the effect is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool looking, and I'm glad they did something different than Smallville when he got his super breath.
Yeah. But they went for the super breath. Like this went out super ice breath.
Yeah,
so
which was really cool. I like the way they did it. It's super ice breath, and they said that lungs can condense air like Clark's, and that's why. But he has like no control over it, and it's freezing in his lungs. So it's like a super form of pneumonia where the fluid is gathering in the lungs, but it's freezing.
Because I like that he hits his ELT. And like the moment he hits it, there's Clark at the door, come walking in. I was like, I just like how they do that. And they go home and he's like sneezing and he's all like shaking. And he says, how long were you sick? And Lois is like, your dad's never been sick a day in his life. And I was just like, son of a gun, that's cool.
Right.
I want to not be sick.
Like the only sick he's ever been is kryptonite.
And hold that thought, because that's going to bring something else back to what we're going to hit at the end of this. So Sam shows up. And basically, tells Lois, I got my guys working on it. All right, here we go. Star Labs, John Jones. What the DOD is not existent or should be recalibrating or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, we know we're in a connected world, right? But this show is only mentioned Crisis, but has not mentioned anybody else yet. I mean, I don't need to be heavy overhand, but no Argus, So I'm just saying, John Jones might be able to help with, because they dealt with synthetic kryptonite before. Maybe. I don't know. Back at the high school, Sarah runs into John. She said that Jordan was acting weird and left. And John, of course, tries to cover for Jordan, and he goes off to find him. And then we have that awkward scene of Emily talking to Lana about a procedure. Leslie shows up and takes Lana to Morgan's office with the same shot as the opening of the episode. Which,
yeah, following Leslie and Dimkoff.
We have Morgan Edge talking to her, basically saying, I know Lois, whatever. And he presents Lana with a choice for an offer. And then one of my favorite lines of the episode is when John returns home and states, it's like Iditarod cold me. And I was like, that's funny.
Right.
Because I remember being in like third grade and having to learn about the Iditarod. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's the Alaskan dog race, snow dog race. It's like a several-day event thing.
Yeah, very long, very dangerous. Yeah, that's pretty cool, though, because it's just his breath. It's just his breath that's making the room so...
I'm too tired. And then this is when Clark decides to take Jordan to the fortress. And I'm just like, really? Like, you're waiting until now? As soon as he came home and was like, the synthetic kryptonite, I'm like, all right, to the fortress. Let's go. But Lois is a really good...
Well, it's getting worse, and... he's getting sicker, and if the DOD can't figure out anything of the weapon they developed, then better take him to see Ice Granddad.
Ice Dad. Ice Pops. Ice Pops. That's what I'm calling him. Ice Pops. Because I call both my dad and my father-in-law Pops. So I'm going to call him Ice Pops. And we have a really great scene of Lois talking with her dad and basically saying about how he was as a parent. And she understood his job, but realized she had hoped that when she had her family, that maybe he would care. And basically ends with, you deliberately made a weapon that can kill my husband and my son, the people I care about the most. You're not welcome here. I thought that was really strong, but at the same time, this would have been a great, like somewhere in here, you could mention, your sister.
Hey!
Hey.
Sorry.
Let your little light shine. you know, you could have mentioned your sister, and that would have been nice to like just bring that continuity that Lois does have sister Lucy, because that's always a fun kind of pinpoint to do. But Clark arrives with Jordan at the fortress and basically finds out they have to burn the kryptonite out of him. Clark takes Jordan in his arms, holds him, while Ice Pops shoots red hot light. Sounds fun.
Yeah, burn the kryptonite out.
And I you know, thinking about it now, like you said, maybe the effects were wearing off of Clark. But I'm like, you know, you think that after Jordan went through it, Clark would be like, all right, hold on, my turn, you know, and he would try to do it too.
Right.
But, you know, John and Lois have a great moment about them being part of a super family. Lois is worried about not being able to protect her kids. And then Sarah at school starts to go on. And then Kyle shows up in a really good, you know, dad moment. He starts playing guitar so she can sing. And she gets like first verse, chorus, and then done.
Right.
And I was like, I looked at Ginny and I was like, this is like a TRL thing? And I was like, wow, it's like a total 90s, early 2000s comment.
Yeah, for real.
How they'd be like, all right.
I mean, geez, they cut off music videos constantly. That was all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah, the whole point of the show I thought was like the most requested videos of the day. So they'd be like, all right, the number 2 video. Then they play like 20 or 30 seconds of it. And I'm like, the whole point is I'm here to watch the video, man. I don't care about Carson Daly and his nails sitting there talking. No, show me the video. Anyways, we'll get back to reality. This show, not really reality. But then we got an interesting...
this time period.
Yeah, let's get back to this time period. People listening are either cheering us on like, yes, or they're like, what's TRL? What's music video?
Right. Yeah, what is a music video?
Was that something they had on YouTube?
Well, for your information, they still do make them. They just get released on YouTube and nothing else.
We have a really great scene of like John talking to Sam, and you know he basically says, "I understand what you're saying," but he says, "I would never be afraid of my dad or my brother because they're my." And he's like, "I would trust him," and he basically says, "You're still a coward." And I'm like, that's some harsh words he's saying to Sam. And the thing is, and this episode proves it, that they're both kind you know, Sam makes a thing about John's like him. They're not that much alike. That, you know, Jordan started walking a different path as soon as his powers emerged. You know, it's like we talked about, like what are they going to do with the idea of the brother? Where are they going to go with their story? Back at the school?
Yeah, it's interesting. He does tell off his grandfather. So yeah, this episode proves both their points. John and Lois were probably dead if Sam didn't come in with one of his weapons to stun Emily and some other random guy.
Yeah, random dude. Because we see Emily leave as her daughter is singing. Because we hear Morgan tell Leslie to active and to go after the ones that Superman protects. So right there tells me that Morgan doesn't know Clark is Superman. Like I kind of wondered and suspected, you know, at some point. Yeah. And then Kyle looks and goes, I'll go see what's wrong with her. Right there was the biggest clue. Okay, Kyle. And then we hear Sam on the phone talking about a prototype, and we see the people show up at the farm, and John goes to answer the door. Lois is talking to Lana, and Lana tells her that she saw it act weird. Well, wouldn't you know it, when Lois looks up, there's Emily. Emily then uses heat vision to attack. Sam bursts in with some K-gas grenades, are trying to defend them, while John runs to the barn. And what does John in the barn, James?
He has some of John Henry Iron's weapons.
Yes, he does. Which goes back to, interesting that he has those weapons after what he just talked to his dad about, or his grandpa. And then, so he has it, and basically Kyle shows up. He says, Lana, Sam gets knocked out. Pause. Clark and Jordan are at the fortress, and Clark has a breakdown of basically saying that what's happening to Jordan is his fault, and Jordan never asked for this. And Jordan says, well, you never asked for what happened to you to happen. And it's a great father-son moment. Then, of course, that's when they hear where Lois had been hitting her ELT that Emily stole. They hear Sam's ELT. It makes me wonder, like, what the frequency difference is per ELT. So Superman knows which.
Right.
But after Jordan had fired the gun, or Jonathan had fired the gun, boom, boom, like red solar energy. Kyle uses his heat vision and destroys it, proving what we all thought all along. Kyle is one of them. Right as he goes to shoot, Superman just takes him out into a field.
Yeah.
And he says basically they're all...
Yeah, he returns back to the barn, be there to protect them, and says they're all gone. 3 Kryptonians took off.
Then we find out, basically we have another moment of Sam and Lois talking, which would have been another great way to put Lucy into the story. He's, basically admits he's a crappy dad, but he's staying there right now until this is handled. And then John and Jordan are talking and, just kind of broing out. We find out that Jordan basically has wintergreen taste in his mouth at all times.
Right. Which John likes.
Yeah. And he sends Sarah a message to try to, hey, when we talk. And it's at that moment that Kyle comes in and is trying to talk to Lana. They're like, oh, are you drunk? He's like, no. He basically he just says all he remembers is blacking out, being at the family meeting thing and blacking out. That's when Lana and Kyle get into it. Not that he made a deal with Morgan Edge. Be his better self, to be the husband and father that he wants to be.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, how the do they get to be dormant personalities until they're activated, so that way to hide out, not draw attention.
Well, they said that it would take a couple of days for them to be fully in. So I think it's kind of like a dormant personality until they're able to take full control of the body. So we will find out because where we're going to go with Kyle's character, because since it's a character that we're close to on the show, we'll explore that. But Clark hears an ELT go off, and he says, Lois, it's yours, which Edge has. Clark goes flying to a very beautiful, and he sees Morgan Edge, and he goes flying towards him. Morgan Edge punches him.
Morgan Edge with a shield on his chest.
In a black Kryptonite-looking Kryptonian suit. He says, do you really think I would give people powers if I didn't have them myself? And he says, when I arrived here, and time to tell you the truth about when I arrived here, brother. Boom. Credits.
It's going to be really cool to see him find out who he is. They got to open up that,
Yes.
Got to open up the reveal.
Now, first of all, let's break this down. Brother. Is that just brother, Kryptonian brother, brothers and sisters way of approaching it? Or one of the theories that I was kind of thinking that we had talked about on the podcast way before, that is one of the higher ones. Because, of course, everyone's like, is it Zod? And I put, please not.
Yeah, we don't need another Zod. There are other Kryptonians that he could be.
And then I'm like, is he somebody new? Is he really his brother? Is he Davis Bloom? Please don't be Davis.
Definitely not.
But the one theory that I'm going with that I like the most is Ha'el. Well, some form of the Ha'el hell story character. In the comics, his story was kind of convoluted-ish a little bit, but he's basically was a type of adopted brother because Jor-El took him under his wing. He was also mentally crazy. I haven't read it since it first came out, and I'm going to think I might brush up using my DC Infinite. If you don't have it, you should get it.
Hell, so all those memories are actually just like their programming. He was a Kryptonian genetic experiment sent off and became a full sentient being. So the memories he has that were programmed or whatever are of Jor-El being his kind of adopted brother.
Yeah, because he was working with Jor-El or
it would make more sense in the show if they made it not him being a genetic experiment.
But maybe just a crazy psychopath who Jor-El was trying to mentor or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't want him to actually be Superman's brother, because then that just is a new thing. And then you would have the parallel story about brothers, but not really because they have no bond here. So my questions, here we go. Where is Kara? Once again, I say this because they're talking about Kryptonians on Earth. Now, going back to Supergirl Season 1, they did a pretty good job of trying to mention Clark's off-world, Clark's doing this. Even when Myriad happened, Clark showed up, but then because he thought of himself as human, it affected him. So even though they were trying not to have Superman present, they still were able to kind of talk about where he's at, which makes me kind of wonder if this show takes place after Supergirl.
Yeah, or if Supergirl goes to the future at the end or something.
Right. So after her series is done, this is when the timing of this show takes. Because it does bother me that they have not referenced her at all in any. They've had multiple places to drop a name or had her there, like when Clark and Lois got married. And then the other thing, like you had said to me, what do we know about this Superman, honestly, post-crisis? Because we were learning a lot about him pre-crisis.
Yeah, pre-crisis seemed like it was like Superman dealt with all kinds of massive threats, like he was able to read the Book of Destiny and stuff like that. And now it seems like this Superman, he's probably dealt with a lot of threats, but maybe not the biggest threats that we know that he deals with in the comics, you know?
Because we knew he had already gone up against Zod. We knew that he had already fought Doomsday. And now we're in the post-crisis, and we really don't know that much of what he's been through. We can speculate just using pieces of information and from the other shows of how they've handled post-crisis. Excuse me. It is that time.
Well, he was on the other shows also. Those people were Paragon, so they were responsible for the world coming back to like the way they knew it, and then the random changes. Superman, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman was not a Paragon, so his life changed. Like it could have changed almost entirely.
Exactly. You know, we've seen how, you know, even with the way they've done Supergirl post-crisis, she's not mentioned her cousin. I mean, we know that they exist together based off the Justice League we're never going to have on TV, maybe until Flashfall. But, you know, it is interesting. Because of, like we said earlier about the whole project
7734.
My brain.
So that's kind of also it's kind of also part of the theory of why he might be Hell, because on Earth, on the other Earth, John Henry Irons' Earth, it could, you know, potentially be hell on Earth over there, and you know, kind of, it just seems it's a little solid for that theory. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would work much better if that's who he is in some way. We know that, I mean, like even the Leslie Lar character we talked about was based off evil Kryptonians.
Leslie Lar.
Yep, and they've already changed that a little with.
It kind of makes me wonder if she isn't Leslie Lar still, because she had a completely different name, and now she goes by Leslie Lar. So the consciousness of Leslie Lar could be the Kryptonian inhabiting her body.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth. But that wraps up this episode. Yeah, I mean, we're only a couple of days away from the next episode. We'll find out more about who he is. I think some version of Ha'el would be much better than trying to do like a Zod. We've had Non, we've had...
Yeah. The CW's pulled a lot from the New 52 stuff. So... it's very possible. Finally get a new Kryptonian.
And his whole thing was about basically kind of like Zod and Man of Steel, about bringing Krypton back. In the process was going to destroy Earth, but his involvement, we'll see. We will see. And it would be pretty awesome. You know what I want out of this series right now? I want a couple of things. Three things. And I'll leave you with this. Number one, I want Jordan in a costume as Superboy. Okay? I want him.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay? Number two, I want Pete Ross to show up. At some point, I want Pete Ross to show back up in Smallville. And number three is I want Cameron Cuff to make an appearance in an episode through a portal of time travel and runs into Tyler Hoechlin's Superman.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And I want them to connect this show to Krypton.
For sure.
And that's how it's done. And then Cameron Cuff's son is the Weave. But
right.
That is my three. That is my three asks.
Well, you know, Angus McFadden, you know, could potentially resemble a Nissa's father, Darren Beck's. You know, so exactly. Jor-El could look like Nissa's father, and Clark looks like his grandfather.
Exactly. That's how it works. I look more like my grandfather on my mom's side. You know, so yeah. It's a great idea, okay?
Sure.
So let's bring it home. All right? Bring it home. So remember,